Hey, Nation, Harry here, keeping it safe. I am at a Regis in the Austin, Texas area, and we're back with Dave Sobel in the Washington, D.C. area. Now, Dave, I actually have a question about that. Back when Knights were bold and Kings owned all the gold, we met with you in Washington, D.C. proper on a sidewalk for a beer. Do you live in Washington, D.C., or are you across the bridge?
I am across the bridge on the Northern Virginia side, but I always describe it as the further you get from DC, the less you actually understand the differences and what that means. so I very much identify with the city. I'm a big Nats fan. I'm a big Caps fan. I'm in the city itself, but I technically live about 10 miles outside of the district in Northern Virginia.
Okay, cool.
Which is important from a tech perspective, of course, because that puts me in the middle, like nearer to some of the Amazon server farms and a lot of that kind of stuff that people don't always think about Northern Virginia for.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah. Well, the topic, since we're bringing 2020 in for a landing, the topic is obvious. It's an obvious topic, and that would be, if you want to rattle off one or two, three predictions for 2021 in our world of the MSP community and vendor community.
Sure. So there's a couple of ones that you want to start with. So the first is I am not predicting a return to the past in 2021. If people are coming out of 2020, I think we can kind of all collectively sigh and go, yeah, that wasn't great. But I don't want to paint this rosy picture of, and 2021 is instantly perfect. I think the first half of 2021 looks a lot like 2020. Yeah. Even optimistic schedules of vaccine rollouts and such tell us that we're going to be a little while getting back to the ability to conduct businesses previously. I'll also say that based on that, we'll have been a year plus in the now normal. And so I would counsel that if you're thinking about 2021, don't expect a return to 2019, but also don't expect more of 2020. It's going to be its own version of this, which is going to start figuring out what the next version looks like. So that's my first baseline of that.
Yeah.
I also I'm very pragmatic on my recommendations. Where this is coming out just as about the clock is to turn. I'm cautioning everybody to be careful through the first quarter. I think it's going to be a harder winter.
Careful financially or careful health-wise or all the above?
Both.
Okay.
Winter you need to watch from a health perspective. It's flu plus COVID. That's its own thing. But that also means, you've got to get through down times. You got to watch your cash flow. You got to be engaged with your customers. Good business stewardship is important to do well through this.
Yeah.
The advantage of technology businesses is it's turning out, it doesn't appear that we are massively as an industry affected, but many of us serve industries that are affected. And so just, think about your customer's customer a lot. You'll do well because you do that and plan for it. So that's my first set of predictions. The second, I'll go a little bold on this one. I am waiting for, and maybe let's say it's happening in 2021. There's going to be some disruption among the vendor space in terms of the normal that we've seen on this. I'm calling a lot of these big vendors that serve the managed services SMB technology space out for being kind of boring. They stop building things and they're not pushing forward. And the way I look at it is if you look at the market as it's continued to move into the cloud, and not just mean throwing email in the cloud. I mean, truly running your business out of cloud technologies. A lot of these players have just not done a great job of embracing that. And that's causing a gap between where the market is and where they are. It's growing. That means ripe for disruption. Yeah. Somebody can step in there and try something new. I'm starting to see some real buzz around this cloud management space. It's still all nascent. I'm not, I haven't picked a horse on this, for example, and I haven't made predictions on which vendors I think is great. I'm just watching going, yeah, there's something happening here. And thus, as the end point becomes less important, we're not worried about the kind of same problems we worried in traditional RMM PSA problems. as that falls behind, there's space here for disruption. So my big kind of bold prediction on this is, yeah, I'm expecting somebody to start disrupting. I expect that to start transitioning. The providers that are really already all in on the cloud, they're going to be accelerated out. Those that are still worried about servers and anything involving a screwdriver, you're in the long descent to irrelevance. So I'm telling people to make sure that you're thinking forward thinking. That's my other big one.
Okay,
the other
cool.
My third prediction then for you is I think 2021 will be the year of zero trust security. Now, I do not position myself as a security expert, but what I can tell you is I'm watching this space and watching that we are losing this battle, right? I've been saying it all through 2020 that we are just losing. The cyber criminals are way better organized. They are organized gangs. They are running profitable businesses. I was laughing about the fact that they're putting out press releases. They're telling us about their strategies. They're releasing financial information. They're well-run organizations. We're losing that battle. But what I'm seeing is that those that are moving to a zero trust model, like a true zero trust, where you don't trust any of the players within the ecosystem at all, including in some level yourself and all the vendors that you work with. You're looking at questions like zero access by vendors, where you're looking at things like FedRAMP certifications. Not necessarily that you're doing federal work, but you're looking at that saying, yeah, I need it to meet a much higher bar because I don't trust anything. Anybody embracing that is going to start figuring out this security problem. Anybody solving it by I'm just going to buy more product is just not getting it. I mean, there's you can see every little vendor around here is trying to become a security vendor by just buying up products. This is a human process problem, not a buy more product problem. Yeah. And so anybody that invests in these kinds of architectures, they're going to get it right. Anybody else is going to continue to fall behind.
Yeah. Back to your second prediction. That was a really interesting point about the disruption of the ISVs and the companies providing solutions. Because I can add to that. Over the past couple of weeks, I did a double click down into Acronis. They had their conference, and then I did a double click down into Skykick. They released a product family, and Skykick said it best, and Acronis kind of looks a little bit like this. Skykick wanted to use the opportunity. I interviewed Todd and Evan, the co-founders, and it's up on our site. And they want to be rebranded as a platform, and be known as a platform. Could be the word of 2021. I'm hearing the word platform a lot, and I go back to the beginning with the guys. They're on the Lower Queen Anne in Seattle, and I was always worried that they were a one-trick pony with that discrete migration behavior. With all due respect, the success Jeff Middleton had in the SBS here, notwithstanding, I mean, it's a good line of work, but it's not a platform. And so now Skykick has all this additional functionality. They're saying we're a platform, and it's the same way that Acronis a couple years ago at their first conference was messaging backup is dead. We're not a backup company. We're a cybersecurity, and I would go as far to say a cybersecurity platform.
Platform, yeah.
But yeah, Dave, we're an industry of slang and acronyms, and maybe people have been saying platform, but I'm hearing it more than I used to, if that makes sense.
It totally does. I put it in November. I put out a video on platforms and why they matter. So I actually compared Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace in terms of why they are business process platforms and why, a solution provider, tech services firm, whatever you want to call yourself, can build your business on top of that. It's why platform is actually a pretty good word, because it is something that you can build on top of. It's actually very complementary to the idea of ecosystems that are coming up more than channels, that you build these ecosystems around platforms that can deliver these solutions. A classic example is Salesforce, right? Who is a platform. You can build things on top of it. And then there's an ecosystem around that of different kinds of people that are making money different ways. For me, the real interest is where that platform is. We're both good network guys. We think in network terms. If you think about the old, the traditional sort of network stack layer of platforms, where you've got all the way down to the cabling, and you can go all the way up to the application.
The old OSI model.
Yeah, if you think about the OSI model, if you think about business platforms as like one level above that, even, it actually starts making a ton of sense. And you realize that you can really build a lot of high-end value for your customers there. By the way, high-end value means good bill rates, everybody. But what you can do is you can be way more important at the top than somebody that worries about the cabling, right? Or the TCP. Like, nobody worries about building a business around TCP IP anymore. No. So I look at this the same way. As if you're worried about the operating systems of your customers, you're not far enough up the stack. I want to get you into the business layer of that, where you're building your business on top of M365, or you're building it on top of Azure, or you're building it on top of, the Microsoft Teams, which we see all the investment Microsoft's putting there, including, by the way, compensating their execs. That's where the real value is. And that is a very different skill set too than somebody that's been using a screwdriver. You need more business analysts there and policy writers than you do sysadmins.
Yeah, no, cool. Well, sir, thank you for your insights, and we'll circle back to you with more topics of the day next time, but totally appreciate it. And folks, if you're not familiar with Dave Sobel, he's an interesting cat that carried the bag and ran an MSP practice in the Washington, D.C. area for, I'll probably get it wrong, Dave, 10 years.
No, you got it right, a decade.
And used to see at the events, and you had that hat on, and then you went to an ISV and you put on it get respectfully, but the vendor hat. Thank sure. Goodness we had you on the inside. One of us was on the inside gang. But you're one of those rare people that have done both. I'm trying to think of the lady. The only one that really comes to mind is the lady that had the CMIT franchise in Denver, Colorado, and then went to work for Robin Robbins. And that was her whole selling point, was, Robin, I'm actually an MSP, right? I'm actually your customer. Hire me. And Robin did.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I consider myself student of this space, and the best way to do that is get hands-on experience and learn I say I was an MSP and a multi-time channel chief. I understand the dynamics on both sides, and that puts me in a place now where I can do independent commentary and editorial and speak on this. And I'm, the people that pay me are solution providers, just like the guys we're talking to right now. That's how I make my money, is by engaging directly. So I'm here making noise to try and make the industry better and give people insights into what I think they need to know.
Well, and it didn't hurt that you're independently wealthy from that lotto ticket you bought about 12 years ago.
Well, everyone should play the lotto, Harry. That's clearly how we're all making our money.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks for having me.